Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chrissy, and I hope I wasn't overcooking it by using the word spooky, but it is certainly interesting. Perhaps maybe that's a better term. Thanks everyone for your time. Okay, what makes Caldera special? There's quite a few things. In the Ionic clay space, we are quite unique, and it really starts with the resource. We have a quality asset, 409 million tonnes, 2,600 ppm, truly Ionic. Now that is something that a lot of others can't claim. So in the clay space, this is what makes it different. And I'll harp into why Ionic is so important a little bit further on. The grades are fantastic. And the recoveries that we see are exceptionally good as well. The basket that we have, very high content of NdPr, around 31%. That's important. It's a high payer in the basket. 31% of the NdPr equates to around 80% of the value. So it's a really strong driver in the value of our basket. The other 14%, based on our composite samples that we've done test work on, comes from dysprosium terbium, that all-important heavy rare earth metal, magnetic metal. The ratio in a magnet is around 10 to 1, so if you have a 1 kilo magnet, 900 grams of NdPr, 100 grams of DyTb. That makes up the composition of your magnet. Okay, so it's important that we have those compositions. We're certainly looking for more in that space. The recoveries I've already spoken about. We've had some really interesting updates in that space. When we took on the project, we inherited some work that was undertaken by Geogmec. Our metallurgical team and ANSTO, who we're using at the moment, were strong believers in the fact that they can improve on those recoveries. They saw some losses in that impurity removal and precipitation down to the carbonate phase, and they've absolutely come true on their word in that space. They've closed that gate and they've increased those recoveries, and we'll talk a little bit more about that further going on. Land holding, we own a significant portion of the Caldera. It's around 196 square kilometres, equating to around 69 of those tenements. The resource, and just bear in mind, the resource is only based on 6 of those, so the opportunity to grow this and explore and find more of those very valuable heavies, in particular the DyTb, are immense. And we'll talk about that a little bit further on as well. We've got a great leadership team. We've just bumped it up recently with an announcement. Stuart Gale has come on board as CFO. He's a great addition to the team. We're certainly going to need to rely on Stuart's skills going forward. He's spent a lot of time in Tier 1 operations in Australia. He's got experience in America raising funds, so we're really pleased to have Stuart on board and having him help us take this project forward, particularly in the financing side of things. And strong development support in Brazil. So we're getting really, as I've spoken about this many times, we have a really good and strong support base in the local community. We have great support at the state government level, and we are now building really strong relationships at the federal level as well. So that's super important for our project. It's something that our government relations manager, Dr. Marcelo de Cavalis, has done a great job at. He's also one of our board members, but he's really gone out of his way to build those relationships, and that's all important for taking this project forward and getting it built at best possible speed. And that really bodes into the last point there, the rapid path to development. We really are fully intent on being the next rare earth producer in Brazil. So everything's lining up to see us get to that space. All those things that I've just spoken about previously all bode well for us making sure that we are that next producer in Brazil and getting an operation up and running. Location-wise, we're at the southern end of Minas Gerais. Minas Gerais equates directly to general mines, so it's a mining-friendly state. There are multiple licensed operations in Minas Gerais. Some of the bigger names that you see around the place, Vale is one. So we're in a great jurisdiction. It's very mining-friendly, and we're certainly seeing that support. As a snapshot, we've got about 1.9 billion shares out in market, which so we're a typical junior in that space. We've been moving around in the project space around 20 years, so we're not unlike a lot of others. We've got around $477 million of market cap at the moment, and we've got a treasury of around just under $30 million at the moment. So we're well financed for the immediate and longer term needs of the project going forward, and we're in a good space in that sense. The board, there's 3 doctors of geology you can see there. They've been a great support in getting this project up and running. But more recently, we've had Mr. Peter Gundy come on board. Now, Peter Gundy's a really important guy. He's one of the co-founders of Neo Performance Materials. He has a really great depth of understanding of that midstream, downstream processing area, and we're really relying on him to help us connect to that. Connect those dots going further downstream, getting offtakes in place, and working out those opportunities for us in that vertical integration space in the rare earth industry. And I had to throw that in there, but we've just also recently admitted to the ASX 300, so that was a welcome surprise. We certainly weren't expecting that. But being an index fund now certainly comes with advantages, and we're enjoying those. The differences between hard and soft rock or clay deposits, it really comes down to cost, capital cost and operating cost. And there's a few reasons for that. The Ionic clay deposits, the name Ionic is important. What it means is those parent minerals have weathered down, they've broken down, and they've released those rare earth elements into the wider clay environment. The rare earth elements have a strong positive attraction, the clay particles have a strong negative attraction, and they adhere to each other, much like sand on your foot as you come out of the ocean at the beach. It's that same sort of stickiness. They're not entrained inside the mineral. There's no robust processing requirements to break open those clay minerals to get at those rare earth elements. They're attached to the outside, so that's the difference. In a hard rock space, you need to break open those primary minerals to access the rare earth elements inside and then process those elements to get to a carbonate phase. Mother Nature has done all that work for us up front. That equates to a much simpler flow sheet. It equates to a much lower capex, it equates to a much lower opex, and we certainly see ourselves being at the very bottom end of that operating cost curve, which is important, particularly when you see some of the pricing cycles that are coming, washing through the market at the moment. It's a tough market in the rare earth industry at the moment, but some of the numbers that we're seeing coming through from our scoping study give us a lot of comfort. We're certainly going to be well and truly a going concern, even in these tough downturns in the pricing regimes that you're seeing coming out. This is a really interesting graph. So this is all about neodymium, praseodymium content, which is, as I said before, a major player in our basket. It's a major player in a lot of baskets. Not all baskets, but a lot of baskets. So it's a good yardstick. In that yellow band, you can see where most ionic clay deposits live. They live in that 700 ppm to 1200 ppm sort of range. When I first was shown the data for this project, I really didn't believe what I was looking at. You can see how much of an outlier this project is. This is based on the inferred resource, on the original Geogmec drilling, the very shallow drilling, which doesn't go down to depth. But this thing is absolutely off the charts, and there's a good reason for that. But before we get to that, the bubble on the very right-hand side is the 3,000 ppm cutoff rate. So there's over 100 million tonnes at over 4,000 ppm TREO. And this is what we're playing with in our studies going forward, and this is what we're going to be running our mine off for the first couple of decades. So that is one of the major levers that this project has. It's a very high-grade deposit to start with, but it's got an ultra-high-grade core that we can play with as well. Gives us tremendous opportunities in that operating cost regime. And this is why it's so good, and this is the spooky bit, Chrissy. So I hope you're paying attention. Why is it so good? It's a constrained environment. It's geographically constrained. It's a caldera. It's much like a bucket, essentially. It's ringed by mountains. Nothing can escape from that environment. All the rain that falls inside the caldera stays inside the caldera. There's one small creek system that escapes it. You can see that the alkaline intrusive, the syenite granite, coming through from the middle, that's about 70 million years old. It's been weathering down on itself with these clays, and these rare earth molecules have got nowhere to go. It's a trapped audience. So they've been self-enriching on themselves, and that is why we are seeing, because of this control, this geographical control, we're seeing this enrichment of these rare earth elements. So Mother Nature has really given us a major leg up there. This really shows the breadth of the licences that we have. So as I mentioned before, around 196 square kilometres of licences. It's about 20% of the caldera footprint. Alcoa are a major operator on the left-hand side that you can see. They've been there for around 70 odd years. Corumbaba, another bauxite operator, are on the right-hand side. They've been in operation for around 30 to 40 years. So this is a brownfields mining area. And this is one of the reasons why we have such great community acceptance. The community are absolutely accepting of mining within the caldera. They like the work that Alcoa have done in particular, and for that reason we are basically tailgating along on the good work that Alcoa has done and with the community, and we have that that licence to operate, I guess. So it's a great leg up, it's a great start for us at that local community level. We are infill drilling at the moment, but also with a second rig that we have en route to country, we are doing all our infill drilling program is being run with our own rig. It's a much cheaper and quicker option for us to operate with. We've got our own drilling team. A second rig is en route. We are continuing to explore off the resource licences, and we do that for two reasons, and that is DYTB. The heavies are super important in adding value to the basket, and we continue to search for those. We've got a large number of tenements that we need to work through, and unlocking the value of those heavy rare earth elements is super important to us. So we push on with two separate programs. We're exploring, and we're also infill drilling. Infill drilling is going to be giving us resource updates, the first of which will be coming to market very soon. Met test work, this was released, and I'm starting to whip through these because I can see I'm already starting to fall behind, Chrissy. And I promised you 2 minutes. Met test work, so this is important. This is what is driving the value. This is what gives us our low operating costs. So you can see in the graph in the bottom left-hand side, the blue numbers, the original recoveries. You can see the orange numbers. That's the recent ANSTO work, which closes that gap, and it's all in that impurity removal phase and the precipitation down to the carbonate phase. So they've closed that gap. They've added that extra value. What does that mean as a throughput story? Every tonne of ore that we put through the plant, we were recovering around 1.9 kilos of TREO. Now we're recovering around 2.1, 2.2 kilos. That's the difference. That is the driver that lowers our operating costs. We recover more metal. The basket value stays the same. More metal, lower operating costs, more cash flow. The important thing there too is the impurity. So on their very first pass, this is an ANSTO off-the-shelf test. There's no optimisation work done here. They have produced a carbonate which is eminently saleable. There's all but one separator outside of China that will take this carbonate as it is. And uranium at 50 parts per million, completely acceptable to all but one. So it's a benign carbonate that we've produced. You can package it up, truck it, ship it anywhere in the world without any sort of placarding. It's a safe product. This is the focus for our studies going forward. You can see the proposed process plant. You'll be seeing this coming out in the scoping study. That'll be coming out in mid-May. We can't put that out at the moment. We're waiting on those measured indicated resources to come from the drilling that you can see in Suburbo and Capo de Mel. Once we have those two out, they'll be getting released sequentially over the next couple of months. We'll reschedule, we'll get those tonnes and grade back through the financial model that we already have, and we'll get those metrics out to market. And I'm looking forward to sharing that all with you because they're great numbers, they really are. The reason we like this area too, there's all-weather access roads. There's a 138 kVA power line which runs directly to within half a kilometre of the site, 100% hydro-powered. Power in that part of the world is around 3 cents a kilowatt hour. It's cheap, it's available, and we're ready to plug into it. Ample water in this area as well. And again, just on that flow sheet, and I guess this is where the improvements were made in this impurity removal phase area. So that equates to around 15% recoveries in rare earths, which have improved in that space. So that's, as I said, that is what is driving, that's what's driven the recent value kick. It's in driving our improved recoveries. Going forward, we continue our engineering with Ausenco. While we're having this hiatus waiting for measured and indicated resources coming through, we are doing extra engineering. We've moved into the feasibility stage. So that work is continuing. We've just recruited a GM of projects. He's a key guy going forward. He's going to be driving, he's got a lot of work to do in a very short space of time, so we need that person in there to drive that process forward. Environmental, that's progressing extremely well. We've got the EIS report that's been written, it's being reviewed at the moment by us, and that'll be getting submitted probably a week or two early, so we're ahead of schedule there. And that's important for our end of next year, all-important timeline. We're getting our permit to construct. We've been guaranteed that by the State Governor Minister Reyes as long as we comply. So everything is on track for that time frame. Metallurgy, we continue on. That's moving into a continuous piloting phase very shortly. So excited to see how that goes. All on track, the work is looking good there. And resource infill drilling, as I mentioned before, we've got resource updates coming to market very soon. Just very quickly, our relationship with the State Government of Minister Reyes. These are the guys that are helping us drive this permitting process. It's their timeframes that we're operating to. And you can see the all-important red diamond on the right-hand side. That is our permit to construct, and that is what we're progressing towards. Looking forward, off-taking. So we've recently announced our XM Bank of America $250 million letter of support. That's been well received. That's a great step forward for us. We're continuing with our off-takes. Thank you very much, Chrissy. Thanks everyone for your time.